Sure, yeah. So Squirrel AI is the leading AI-based adaptive learning technology company in China. So we provide after-school learning services to K-12 students, ranging from multiple topics, math, English, physics, chemistry, and Chinese. So far we are actually in over 1,300 learning centers now across more than 200 cities in China. So we've been growing quite fast in a very short period of time. So that's quite exciting. Our model is, like other adaptive learning companies, what we're looking to do is in a way to replace the traditional instruction, where you may find a teacher in front of a classroom really just delivering the same content at the same speed to 50 to 100 students at the same time and expecting the same results by the time the bell rings. And that's just not realistic when it comes to how do you provide effective, efficient instruction, right? And it's also not consistent with the way that we naturally learn. And the way that we know would work well is that students will receive personalized adaptive instruction that really is adjusted to their needs at any point in time. So that's what we seek to provide. So our model is also slightly different from other adaptive companies in the sense that, yes, we are providing adaptive instruction using AI-based as well as many other methodologies that we've been proven to work. But at the same time, we always have the teacher in view. So the coach, the human coach, is always there to provide social, emotional, motivational, as well as really targeted, individualized support. So that's the company. AI is certainly fairly new to me, actually. So education came first. So I started out. I think of myself as a learning scientist mostly. So my PhD is in cognitive psychology with a focus in quantitative methods. So there, my role is to think about how do we apply research-based cognitive principles to education, to building adaptive instruction to help students learn in a variety of domains. And so we tend to think theory first, right? So applications of cognitive psychology, of perception, learning, and memory to understanding how humans learn, and then to apply that to developing adaptive technology. So after grad school, I started working at a number of educational technology startups to think about, kind of in a similar vein, but at that time I was really beginning to get exposure to how do we use data to drive design and really use data to not only understand learning, but to also get an understanding of how do we learn from data. So design and research-based that are data-driven. So from there, that's really how I get my foot into machine learning and applications of AI. I'm currently a senior learning and data scientist at Squirrel AI Learning, and in my role, I primarily do two things, right? So the first one is to find ways to establish and maintain research partnerships with research partners, either in academia or nonprofit research institutions, to try to find ways to not only understand how do we best use AI and machine learning, but also how do we best use other fields like learning sciences, as well as computer science, adaptive learning technology, psychometrics, to apply all of the research advances in those different fields to developing our own adaptive learning platform. On the other hand, I'm also involved internally to think about how do we use data to drive design and to drive research so that we can continuously make improvement from a curriculum standpoint, as well as our adaptive algorithms and also our pedagogy, and just in generally enhance product efficacy. I think the main challenge in education in general is that I think most people are quite invested in education. We've all experienced it, right? And there has been many innovations in education. However, I think that at the core of it, when you look at historically, there just hasn't actually been any revolutionary changes in the past 100 or so years. We've certainly seen small successes, but they just haven't been implemented at scale. So that's the challenge, is how do we really leverage AI, machine learning, as well as advances from many other fields to really bring together success at scale. So the way that we use AI right now is to understand the knowledge state of every student at any point in time, to only diagnose what they know and also to recommend the appropriate content at the right time. So really tailor the learning path according to their individual needs. Another way in which we're exploring the uses of AI is to really think about how do we use AI in things like natural language processing to help us identify the misconceptions that students have in answering questions or in learning. And then there are some other ways in which we use AI as well, like how do we use, because learning is actually a very interactive, complex process, right? Students are not really learning in a vacuum, whether you're just sitting in front of a computer or sitting in front of a classroom. Students learn by interacting with each other, with the teachers, and in their environment in general. So we want to be able to use AI to help capture the complexity of that process, to look at the students' mental states, their affective experience. So using not only natural language processing, but also brainwave data and facial expressions and things like that. And we actually have a talk tomorrow presented by our collaborators at SRI to talk about some of those applications. I have a positive view about this. I think with the appropriate applications of AI, we could really make a difference. We could really produce a paradigm shift from a very teacher-centered instruction to student-centered instruction, so that the students are really driving what they learn, right? So AI could certainly support that process by individualizing instruction and, in a sense, then providing global equity. And that's what we really hope where AI can take us, so that if at the fingertips of every student, they could have an adapted set of instructions by quality AI-based tutor, right? And at the same time, we can also think about the role of the teacher being changed for the better, right? So the teacher is no longer the sage on the stage, but as a guide on the side, so to speak. So the teacher is now a coach or a mentor of sorts, so that the teacher can now really do what they do best, right? Provide the kind of social, motivational, and really targeted instruction to each student. Well, education is arguably probably the slowest to advance with AI right now. And I've been seeing, a lot more advances in other fields like healthcare, right? I think it would be nice to see more of that in healthcare. At the same time, I also like to see more AI applications in academia, actually, right? So using AI as a tool in a way to research many different fields. Environmental sustainability. That's also an idea that something that's dear to me, and I think I'd like to see more of that. And other applications that would be generally helpful, like natural language processing, and I'd love to see more self-driving cars, for example. So it's the first day in the morning. However, I've already been seeing a number of really interesting talks and really a lineup of talks that we're really excited to see. The one thing that's most interesting so far I didn't expect is the youth series. It's part of so there were a couple of speakers from the Knowledge Society who are teenagers. They're 17-year-olds and already making a really huge contribution, a solid contribution to AI and machine learning. So I'd really like to see more of that, and hopefully as a result of systems like ours.